Hi folks, hope you're doing well today. I'm going to do something a little different today. This is an orchestral excerpt from Benjamin Britten's four Sea Interludes. It's the famous and challenging third trumpet solo from the second movement. Well, I'll just go ahead and play it for you because I think we'll have some things to talk about on this one. Well, I kind of panicked on the end there at that scale. It's just a scale. It's a C major scale with an F sharp in it, if you want to think about it that way. I'm going to play that again. So I'm still not happy with it. So you're entering into a little private practice session of mine. I played through it. If I were preparing it for a performance, I know where the weak points are. And one of the main ways I'm going to be able to tell that is what's fun and what am I confident of. And if I'm nervous about it, if it doesn't hold up, if I keep on proving to myself that I'm chipping notes or there are some kind of flaws that are bothering my ear, they're probably going to bother other people's ears too. And so that's all basically evidence for the prosecution against myself telling me that I'm not ready to play this. So instead of listening to those voices, you want to try and build a sense of confidence in what you're able to do. So the first thing is obviously the range. Now, I'm playing on a D trumpet, but when I played this before, I played it on C. And I actually feel a lot more comfortable on C. I thought I'd do it on the D today because my D doesn't get enough exercise. But whatever the case, most people will play this on D. I suppose some even might try and play it on piccolo, although that might be difficult once you get down into the low register. But it's a great solo. It's fun to do when it's there. So we're going to kind of break this apart. So where I had trouble with it is I would need to practice that scale and become confident of it. Because if I don't, I have a bar rest. D da da 1, 2, 1, daga 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 1, 2, yan daga 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 dan daga daga daga. So I have to do it in time. I have to feel that there's a time context, a rhythmic context for the music. Otherwise, I really am not going to play it well. So obviously, one thing we might do is play it slower. Now I'm running the scale and I'm having fun with it because I'm getting a sense of a little bit better control. Will that hold up in the context, in a performance? Probably not. I can tell I'm not confident of it enough yet. So what I do is break it up into the fundamental components. One of them here for me is fingers. My fingers are a little slow. And so I need to become much more affirmative with the fingers. Now, many of you experienced players know this stuff already, and it's very possible that some of you would have less trouble playing this scale and be more confident of it, maybe not even think about it because it just happens automatically. Good, you're there already. Now you can think about the music, which is really the point. When I play this, I'm not only working on the fingers, however, I'm working on the gesture, I'm working on the sound. So I'm not trying to do everything at once, but I'm trying to put together a package which it's kind of like a statue, like Michelangelo's David. When you see the finished work, you don't see what it looked like when it started, and you don't see what it looked like in process when he's just knocking the big chunks of stone off. And until it gets down to where it starts to look like a human being, and then when you see the finished product, it's like, oh, it's not like you're even looking at a piece of stone anymore. You're looking at something that's alive. It's the same thing we're doing with sound. So I'm going to be attentive to the sound, and I suggest that you try that. It's starting to feel a little bit better. Now, if you can't play that scale and maintain a reasonable quality in the sound as you're going through, if you feel like there's strain involved, for example, that's where you want to start. You can say, oh, gee, I can't even play that scale comfortably. So now you go back to your scales and you pay attention to what happens as you go from the middle register into the upper register. And you learn by practicing it. Most of us are in way too much of a hurry to try and get the finished product. So when Michelangelo sculpted David, he didn't go from a giant block of granite to the incredible final result instantaneously. This took a long time. But the picture was in his mind from the beginning. So that's what I'm suggesting that you do. If you have a pictures of the qualities that you want, pictures of the quality of the craftsmanship or the aesthetic qualities, the beauty in what you're doing, then that's the place you can work. And you can continuously get better every day, and that makes your playing and your practice fun. So even if you're never going to practice this solo, you can say, well, gee, I need to get better at marcato articulation. So let's look at that for a while. Right at the beginning, it's quite marcato. It's double forte accented, and it's big intervals. So a common practice technique that I use, and if you've watched my videos, you've heard me say it a lot, is I connect the dots. In other words, I'm playing a line. Now that helps me, especially if I slow it down, it helps me to hear exactly where the intervals are. So instead of poking at the notes, I'm playing through the notes. In my way of thinking about things, every note has a length. It might be an extremely brief length, but it's always a length. In other words, there's air moving past my lips when I'm playing that note. Instead of I'm not doing that. I'm playing something that's very lyrical. And for those of you who have trouble with accuracy on this, I would strongly recommend that you practice it with a slur. I even buzz this on the mouthpiece sometimes. Now, I realize for some, range will be a limitation, but what I'm trying to convey here is the principle involved with this. Not that you should try and master this if it's beyond your reach, but the principles apply to anything that you're working on. So I'm going to do that again. Actually, I'll take it down to the next part. This is the third line now. And by the way, for those of you who are interested, this is movement 2 of Benjamin Britten's 4 Sea Interludes, rehearsal number 3 in the part. Let's see here. Now that's interesting. Let me get some water out of the horn here. That's very interesting. Listen to those intervals again. So for me, that's an interesting taste. It's like if you go to exotic places and eat food that you're not familiar with, you're going to taste some things that you've never tasted before. And it kind of wakes up your imagination, and some of the things you'll like and some of the things you won't like. So don't think that it's just about the notes. It's like, what do I want it to me, it's what do I want it to taste like? So I'm listening for qualities in the sound. That was kind of fun. Let me go ahead with it. I have to allow myself to be ready to play first, however. That's a basic rule of playing. Engage brain before blowing trumpet. Now, if you have the skills and you have the strength, I strongly recommend that you get used to sustaining the notes up there, just like I was doing, because that helps build your confidence. If there's strain, you're just tearing your body down. And it probably means that you either are lacking in the necessary strength, or more likely, you're lacking in the skills and the way to balance your strength. You know, the strength of the breath flow and the support and of your face. And if that's not there yet, don't force it. That's my best advice. It took me most of my life. Actually, to be honest, I'm still in the process of learning not to force. It's my natural tendency. But here, when you get in that zone where you can just sing freely, and that seems odd talking about something so marcato like this, but just sing freely through it, play it as a lyrical line, then you can start adding the articulation. And this approach works for me. I hope it works for you too. So let me turn it back into marcato. I'm going to do a progression. So I slurred it. Now, for most people, when we start separating the notes, especially when we're playing forte, double forte, or more in the upper register, especially when we're using a very powerful, marcato, accented type of style, most people get quite tight. And so if I feel that happening, I realize I'm probably creating some resistance on the inside. I'm just trying too hard, and I need to go back to my lyrical style of playing. So that's my recommended progression. Play it lyrically and beautifully, sing the line, listen for the intervals, listen for the quality of the sound. And when all that stuff starts to come in, then do your articulation, various kinds of articulation, until you gradually are working toward the final product, the Statue of David, so to speak. And you can do that consistently, and it's fun to do. So that's a basic suggestions about how to practice this kind of thing. Again, I realize that not everybody is going to want to play this or enjoy playing it, but for those of you who are close to being able to do this and have it be fun, I hope that some of these suggestions are helpful to you. I'll let you go do your own work, and hopefully you'll come back and visit me another time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.